Hay una información muy interesante de Michael Sala en una charla que tiene con los contactados Alex Collier, Elena Danán y el militar de operaciones especiales JP, quien filtra información de manera anónima sobre operaciones secretas que se están realizando para recuperar cuerpos de Anunnakis en estado de estasis y de sus híbridos, como es el caso de Gilgamesh, por ejemplo, así como de tecnologías Anunnaki del pasado y naves, las arcas, todo oculto en bases subterráneas en distintos puntos del planeta. Hay un dato que me interesó mucho y me sorprendió, ya que coincide con lo que los Windmakers, los hacedores de alas, que es un grupo de Anunnakis que dejaron en una base subterránea hallada en el cañón del Chaco en los años 90, tecnologías Anunnaki e información espiritual, y sobre la historia de la humanidad. En esa información, de la cual ya hice un vídeo, se explica el asunto de la trampa de la reencarnación, el alma y la creación genética de varias ramas o cepas de seres humanos, que científicos Anunnaki crearon dos ramas distintas de la humanidad. Una era un anfitrión adecuado para que los Anunnaki encarnaran en la Tierra, y la otra rama, la otra cepa, formaba una especie esclava para ser controlada por la primera. Diferentes facciones dentro de la sociedad Anunnaki tenían puntos de vista opuestos y discutían sobre el papel futuro de estas dos cepas de la humanidad, incluida la medida en que se permitiría a los esclavos humanos evolucionar orgánicamente hacia su máximo potencial. El más importante de los científicos Anunnaki, Enki, o príncipe Ea, perdió la lucha por el poder y huyó del sistema solar en su nave, llevándose consigo los secretos del ADN adámico original. La partida de Enki ocurrió durante el gran diluvio universal, asociado con la caída de la Atlántida. Después de esto, la duración de la vida humana comenzó a acortarse drásticamente, como se registra en escritos antiguos, en la Biblia, en la lista de los reyes sumerios y los textos egipcios. Todo debido al bloqueo del ADN del humano y una vibración que colocaron sobre el planeta los Anunnaki, controladores para dicho fin. El acortamiento de la edad de los seres que habitamos en este planeta, debido a esta vibración, a este campo vibracional, las células de los seres vivos se deterioran a gran velocidad y así evitan que el ser humano no despierte y advierta a las futuras generaciones de lo que ocurre realmente en el planeta. Después en la charla, aunque esto suena a nueva era, hablan de que Enki ha compartido el mapa genético del ADN adámico original con una alianza galáctica y terrestre que está trabajando entre bastidores creando tecnologías que tendrán un impacto en la salud y la longevidad humanas, y que hay una parte clave de nuestra historia perdida, que es el papel del árbol de la vida en la extensión de la vida humana. En el momento del éxodo de Enki, los científicos Anunnaki fueron ocultados en lugares clave del planeta en cámaras de éstasis. Uno de estos gigantes explican que es Ningisida, se encuentra bajo tierra en Florida y está asociado con el árbol de la vida original y con deidades mesoamericanas como Quetzalcóatl, Viracocha y Kukulcán. El despertar de Ningisida y otros científicos Anunnaki conducirá a la difusión de muchos secretos alquímicos olvidados hace mucho tiempo, que pueden prolongar la vida humana y restaurar la salud a pesar de milenios de degradación genética forzada realizada por una poderosa facción de Anunnakis asociada con Enlil, Marduk y Ninurta.
You meet the ant people at the entrance to this cavern, and they say they're upset about something, and what do they have to say about the giant?
First of all, glad to be here, Doc. Elena, Alex, beautiful, beautiful, amazing conference. Amazing conference. And it's a mission that we had when we went to the cave system to meet up with the ant people. And as you said in the last interview that we had, they were really pissed off with us giving the seeds or taking the seeds somewhere else, because the seeds were supposed to be here in the United States, and now the seeds are not here, and the things that they have given us. And the location, I actually know about the location. We were talking about this earlier. we know that Europe has a new king. And that's where these things went.
Okay.
I'm guessing when the king asks for something, he gets what he wants.
Interesting. So the British Crown, the new king, somehow had that kind of influence or authority to be able to have those seeds transported from the US.
Because you know, being a king is a generational thing. It goes back, the bloodline goes back a long time. And they know about these things. They know about this. What they have, what the inner earth population have, you know, the ant people have. And they know about these sleeping giants, sleeping kings that are asleep. Because in their eyes, these sleeping giants are kings. They were like kings. So it's understandable that another king would want something that comes from a sleeping king that is not awake yet.
Very interesting. I'm kind of asking the ant people about him, his identity.
Well, I did not clearly get that information from the ant people. They told me that he was really important. Maybe you can show the picture that I drew. Maybe Elena could explain what she felt. Who was this magnificent king that the ant people was protecting?
Yeah, thank you for that picture. We'll put it into the video that shows this sleeping king. So you were told by the ant people that it was very important.
And that they were protecting him and Stasis. The reason we couldn't go back after we took the seeds.
Okay. So that was what you found. We move forward to a conversation I had with Elena Danan while we were in Tennessee, and I think we were visiting a cave, Elena, wasn't it? And in one of the, I think it might have been the Lost City cave there in Tennessee, in East Tennessee, and you had a communication with Thorhan, so tell us what happened.
Yes, we were having this conversation about this mysterious sleeping giant and somewhere under Florida. We do not know the location. And I received communication from Thorhan, which happens randomly. I never know when it's going to happen. We're talking about. And you asked him, so first he told you that he was one of ENKI scientists. When ENKI left, ENKI left some scientists on Earth to take care of humanity and to make sure that certain knowledge would be hidden in secret places. I think we can safely call these places the halls of records. This person, this specific scientist, was coming from Atlantis. He was in Atlantis, and he went to the Americas, North and South, to hide there knowledge, technology, something. And Thorhan said that, and you asked, could he tell us the name of this scientist? So I asked Thorhan to repeat a few times because I had difficulty to hear. I wanted to make sure, and I told you I heard something like Ningishka, Ningishza, something like this. I wasn't sure. And well, once home I checked on internet and I told you, oh my god, there is actually there was an Anunnaki named Ningishzida who was a scientist, and his name means the god of the good tree, or the tree of life, and somewhere underground Florida he's beside the tree, a tree of life, a tree that gives life and that drips water, that is giving youth and regenerating DNA. And JP described, if I remember well, that the roots were like vine. So everything was like, oh my god.
Amazing. So one of the things Thorhan said was that this sleeping giant was one of 4 remaining Anunnaki scientists that had gone into stasis after the Great Flood and after Enki left. And I think we asked Thorhan, well, why didn't they leave with Enki? And why don't you explain what Thorhan said to that?
Thorhan said that this scientist left to help humanity and to look after humanity, because Enki had lost the conflict, the battle with his half-brother Enlil. I mean, Enki was a scientist, and all his friends, his colleagues were scientists as well. They were not warships, they were chiefs, and they were not military, so they couldn't fight. Enlil, who was the chief of armies and had all the armies with him. So these scientists decided to stay on Earth, to look after the people and try to help them, but also to take care of preserving this ancient knowledge and technology to some secret places. And they put themselves in stasis, waiting the moment, hoping for the moment when humanity would evolve and raise.
But the soul isn't in the body, all right? The soul's somewhere else. And I have a feeling, and I feel pretty strongly about this, that Enki has already made arrangements for boots on the ground to go and retrieve the seeds and return them to where they're supposed to be. You know, and what I mean by boots on the ground, other extraterrestrials who understand the significance of it. But the body itself is an avatar. The soul's not there. The soul is somewhere else, and it is coming back. But that particular body was designed or created for here.
So what do you think?
Yeah.
So what do you think about this being Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan?
It's been prophesized he would return. It's been prophesized forever, and all the indigenous people that the giants would return. And that's been known for a very, very long time. I believe even Edgar Casey said it, that the giants would return or would wake up. Yeah.
One of the things we kind of like covered in the conference was the idea of the alchemical practices coming back, and these giants, and particularly Ningishida. I mean, he was the god of the good tree and of the vines, and he was an alchemist, and we know Enki's an alchemist. So what do you think that means for the common person?
I think they're going to reteach us the ancient holistic medicines, the earth medicines, that which the indigenous people practiced for thousands of years, but then a lot of that's been lost because they were trying to kill them all off. I think they're going to come back and teach us the old ways. You know, medicine from the earth. You know, I mean, they're the ones who taught us that stuff in the first place.
And that could explain that these seeds are probably extinct seeds that we used to have on Earth, on the upper side of Earth.
Right. They could be medicinal plants for all we know.
So maybe that's why the king wants it, or makes a lot of sense.
Well, Charles is in a lot of trouble anyway, so it would be leverage. He could leverage the fact that he has them to try to cut a deal. You know, I mean, Deep State operates like that all the time.
Well, Michael, you mentioned in one of your videos the fountain of youth that was sought after in Florida by ancient explorers.
Yeah, well, Ponce de Leon is known to have searched for the fountain of youth, and the myth was created because there was some knowledge that there was a tree somewhere that did something, or, well, the fountain of youth, a mythical tree of life, and it seems that he had heard about it, and that the Indian traditions at the time talked about this. Maybe now it doesn't, but we know now, based on what JP saw, that tree of life.
That tree was amazing, let me tell you, Doc. That tree has straws that feeds from the river, and then it comes back, and the sap is so red. It's similar to those trees from Madagascar. And when you cut them, it bleeds.
Now that's interesting. Now it said there were 4 giants. Okay, so let's look at the indigenous people of South America. What other cultures are that old and did similar type of healing? The Indians of India, Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, we know that the ancient gods all practiced that, and they were all the same. They were I think in many ways they were the exact same people, but they had different names because of the different languages of the cultures. But the medicine is similar, very similar. So it may be that another one of the giants is in stasis somewhere in India with seeds.
Yeah.
And then what would be the other? It would be China. Could be one of those pyramids that they won't let anybody near, okay, with seeds. And, you know, then we're looking at either the United States or Indonesia, where they practice the same kind of medicine. You know, they would scatter them around to make sure that they would all survive. They would never put them in all one place.
So what do you think is going to happen now that this giant has been activated, and whether he's koto virakulcha ningishida, what do you think is going to happen now?
Boots on the ground, just like Alex said.
Boots on the ground. So you think that there's going to be an intervention here by some of the Enki faction?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, it would make sense that Enki wouldn't want to come down here because it would cause a massive rift within the family. Okay, but that doesn't mean he couldn't ask for a favor from other extraterrestrials that are here working with the Alliance. Here's what you need to do. Here's how you do it. You know, they've done other things like that, and they're here to help us anyway. Could be that they would be there when the giant Quetzalcoatl wakes up. They would be there, you know, and say, hey, you know, here's who we are. We understand what you're doing. We need to move you from here and take you someplace where you'd be safe. And the first thing the giant's going to do is, where are the seeds?
So far the ants mess them up, huh?
Okay.
Right?